Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's conversation about core values. This is one of the most common topics that comes up when I'm a guest on other podcasts, and I use this as a tool with all of my coaching clients because it is that important. So I'm very excited to share more with you today. Let's start with what are core values? I like to see core values as your beliefs that are most important to you, that drive your everyday decisions, relationships, long term goals, and short term goals, whether or not you realize it. So, just like companies have their core values maybe written up on the wall or something in your handbook that you had to learn when you first started there, you can have your own core values too that help you drive your decisions. And this is so important because it allows you to stay aligned with your truest wants and needs and make your decisions with confidence, both personally and professionally. This always makes me think of that saying, if you stand for nothing, you fall for everything. And this is something that I found myself doing all the time before I identified what my own core values were. I would always just go along with what other people wanted, trying to be the agreeable person. And you see this a lot with women. We tend to be people pleasers, so we put other people's needs above our own. And oftentimes, over time, we tend to lose sight of what our own wants and needs even are. So it's hard for us to speak up for them or ask for help because we don't even know what it is that we need or want. As women, we also have this nurturing nature where we want everyone around us to be comfortable. We want everyone to get along. We want to keep the peace. And we're constantly doing this, but typically at our own expense. We're making our day to day uncomfortable and sacrificing our own wants and needs in service of other people's comfort. And that is not sustainable. I'll tell you that now. We like to think it is. We like to think it's so helpful and it's so great, but usually you're just chipping away at yourself and your own needs, and you're pouring into everyone else's cup, and you forget to take care of yourself. Along the same lines, as women, we find it really hard to say no. We don't know how to prioritize. We can find it hard to make decisions on our own. Again, I know I'm generalizing this, but these are all things I talk about with my clients all the time. We struggle with trusting our gut. We struggle with standing up for what's important to us, for saying no to what doesn't align with us, and having core values, remembering them and using them in your day to day life can be such an easy tool to have such great impact on your day to day life so that you can say no to things that don't align with you and what's most important to you, so that you can say yes to things that light you up and that align with your truest needs and wants, so that you can show up as your full self, so that you can pour into your own cup and continue to pour into other cups and other people without harming yourself. So for me, what this looked like before I did this work with a coach, before I discovered what my core values are, I had this big epiphany with my first coach back in 2019 when we were working through a specific situation and she asked what my needs were. And I came to this realization in such a breakthrough moment that I didn't even know what my needs were in that situation. I was so hyper focused on everyone else around me, everyone else involved in the situation, that I didn't even know what I wanted. I didn't even know what I needed. So, again, no wonder I couldn't stand up and say what I needed because I couldn't even find that for myself. And it was such a clear visual that I still see to this day. In that moment, it's how I lived my life up until that point, up until my mid to late 20s, is that my own wants and needs were always on the back burner. And I always put other people's wants and needs in front of my own. And I'd done it my whole life to the point that I couldn't even see what my wants and needs were anymore. And it was such a humbling experience because even saying it out loud, it honestly sounds a bit sad, right? That we can get so disconnected from ourselves and what we want because we're so connected and so worried and concerned about all the people around us. And in the same breath, how wonderful of a thing that we care so much, that we want to give so much, and we have so much love and support to give. But we'll talk about this more in the future, in future episodes, but we really do need to start with ourselves first so that we can take care of ourselves while also taking care of other people. So I'm not saying never care about other people, don't ever consider other people's wants or needs. What I am saying is that we all need to get more in touch with ourselves, and our core values is a great place to start. So I am going to walk you through, at a high level, how I approach this conversation with clients. And I will link in the show notes a free download to help you work through this yourself, where you can list out all of your ideas. You can map them out and answer a few reflection questions so that you can quickly use this yourself as well. The first step when you're working through discovering your core values for the first time, or maybe you've done this before and you want to refine it or go a little bit deeper, I highly recommend you start by just listing out, do, a quick brain dump. You may even want to just set a timer for, I'd say, probably 5 minutes to do this. List out all of your priorities in your life. These can be the people in your life important to you, the activities that you like to do. Think about where you're spending your time, where you're spending your money, where you spend your energy, where you want to be spending more time, energy, and money with the things that excite you the most, the things that light you up, the things that give you energy, the things that you're already making decisions based off of, and just start to list as many as you can. And I highly recommend you come up with at least 10. That can be really easy for some people, really hard for other people. So be patient with yourself, but I promise you can get to 10. And this is where my style of core values differs from a lot of people potentially. I've found when I first start to talk with people about core values, typically most people jump to things like family, friends, work, faith, things like that. And these are great topics and examples to put in this first bucket of priorities. But I argue these are not your values. These are priorities, and these are two different things. Values are the value that you get from the priority. So a great example here, I'll use one of my own core values as an example. One of my values is connection. And this essentially for me is my relationship bucket. When I listed out my priorities, of course, family, friends, husband, pets, people that I'm meeting, these all came up as priorities to me. And what I found the value from these is that I love connecting with people on a really deep basis. Probably no surprise to you that I'm a coach. I love to talk really deeply with people about their goals, their wants, their needs. This, again, I'm smiling as I say it, this really lights me up. And even when I'm meeting up with friends, I so prefer doing a one-on-one hang with a friend, whether it's over coffee, a yoga date, something like that, where we can take time to do something meaningful and we can have a really deep conversation as well. I prefer that so much more than big group settings. I'm actually an introvert. I will also say I'm an extroverted introvert, but that kind of plays into it for me too, where I would much rather have a few deeper connections and relationships than I would have a lot of connections where I don't know people as well or we don't get to those deep conversations. And again, this is not to say anything is right or wrong. This is just what's true for me. So that's how I came to the word connection as one of my value words. The next step in the process is for each of those priorities that you listed first, I want you to answer that question. What is the value that you get from this priority? So again, for me, the example with different relationships, the word connection kept coming up. And in our values exercise in the link in the show notes, you'll see there's also a link. Brené Brown has a great list of value words. I think there's almost 100 on the list. And these are really helpful to get to kind of that deeper root of values and motivations. So check that out for inspiration. And you may just want to list several words that resonate for you within each priority. And then the next step is you're going to go back through that list of values and you're going to start circling the words that keep coming up over and over and over again. And I want you to get to a point where you have 3 big themes that keep coming up, or you may have 5 or 6 to start with. That's great. But we're going to take these buckets and try to narrow it down to 3 key core value words. And if you have more than that to start with, that's okay. I recommend you look at it from a lens of which of these words can encapsulate the other words. So again, something like my connection as an example, my connection word. Other value words that could show up underneath that would be maybe love, family, relationships, things like that. But at the crux of it for me is connection. So all the other words ladder up to that word. This may take you some time to really think through this and get to that next level for you. So, since I've shared one of my core values, let me share the other two as well. Another core value of mine is empowerment. Again, this shouldn't surprise you if you're here listening or if you know me at all. I live to empower other people and myself through my business, through my day to day actions and choices. For me, it's all about helping myself and other people live life on their own terms, showing up more confidently in their life, and being their full selves. And to me, empowerment is that word that really, really lights me up. It really motivates me on a day to day basis. And it really shines through in most of what I do on a daily basis. My third core value is exploration. This is another word that really, really resonates with me on a deep level because I absolutely love traveling, exploring new cultures, experimenting, and, especially when we're traveling, I'm always trying new food, maybe wine or talking with the locals to learn about the culture. And then even on a day-to-day basis where we live locally here in Charlotte, I love to try new restaurants with different foods, go to local breweries, try different beers, even different workout classes and things like that. I always love to go to new places and explore, and it's something that really does light me up and fill my cup. And I do see each of these values too as things that really resonate with me, fill my cup, and bring me energy and joy and essentially help me to make decisions that align with that too, so that I can in turn handle other big things that are out of my control better. So by filling my own cup, by staying in alignment and true to myself, I'm able to handle whatever life throws my way through the lens of these core values. I also get a lot of questions about why 3 core values, why not more? I found that when you have any more than 3, it just starts to not mean as much. It's almost too much to keep track of. You're spreading yourself too thin, and it's just a lot to think about. It's a perfect amount to balance each other. And honestly, I have found these may change over time for you. One of my core values was self-love during COVID because it was something I really needed to take care of myself while I was starting my business, while I was going out on my own, while the world was changing. This was something I had to really prioritize and become part of my core self and part of my day to day. And I found over time that that has become so natural now that it is still a core value of mine, but it's not one I even need to think about anymore because it just comes so naturally to me. Where now these other 3 are ones that I want to be really intentional about every day. I want to think about them every day and keep them top of mind. I literally have them on this Post-it right here at my desk, so I see them every single day. So after working with my first coach, going through my leadership coach training program, and I had discovered my core values for the first time, I really saw my life shift and who I was transformed so that I could really become my full self, inward and outward. I finally felt like for the first time in my life, I knew what I wanted and where I was going. I could make decisions more confidently and quickly. And I was purposefully having more uncomfortable conversations, like saying no to things that didn't align with my true self and what was most important to me and wasn't in alignment with my values, and learning how to not feel guilty for that. It was beginning to trust the process of knowing what's right for me and knowing what's best for me and being unapologetic for that and knowing that it's okay to have those uncomfortable conversations and knowing that these people in my life are going to love me still, even and especially when I have to put my own needs first and take care of myself. And I can then, in turn, have more deep connections with them. I can still empower people and live a life full of exploration. All right, a few key takeaways from today's conversation about core values. First, core values are deeper than the words and priorities like family, work, religion. It's about the value that you get from those priorities and why they're so important to you. Once you know your core values, they can help guide your everyday decisions and help you feel more aligned with yourself and feel like you have more purpose. Honestly, this is one of the most life-changing tools I've done during my own personal development journey. And again, I prioritize it with all of my coaching clients because it's that important and that powerful. So I hope you give this a try yourself and please let me know how it goes. I'd love to hear what your values are too. That's it for today. See you in the next episode.